Hi everybody, Seth Stearns with Excel Management Systems here. This week we're going to be talking about cybersecurity risk assessments. We're going to be talking about the components of a really thorough, very useful assessment and why conducting an assessment in your organization should be at the absolute top of your to-do list. We'd love it if you stick around. Hi everybody and welcome back. So a couple of weeks ago, we did a video about a company called IdeaBuyer. IdeaBuyer was a Dublin, Ohio based company that after 12 years had to close because of a horrendous cyber attack. And in that video, we recommended two things that all organizations need to do as quickly as possible. Thing one was to conduct security awareness training for all employees. Security awareness training enables employees and teaches employees to practice better cyber hygiene so that they're better able to protect their devices as well as the company's network. The second thing we recommended was that all organizations should have a third party come in and conduct a cybersecurity risk assessment. Now, regarding security awareness training, down below in the description, you'll see a link to the video where we talk more in detail about security awareness training and what it is. But this week, I want to talk about cybersecurity risk assessments. First, some context. 1 in 5 small businesses will suffer a breach this year. 81% of all breaches happen to small and medium-sized businesses. 97% of breaches could have been prevented with today's technology. And this is what the cybersecurity risk assessment helps to measure and ascertain. The risk assessment enables an organization to a good, thorough assessment across the organization and help determine what level of risk is that organization to cyber attacks. Now, down below, we'll have a link to a little infographic that we like to circulate that talks about the 15 ways to protect your business from a cyber attack. And it gives some great ideas. One is to conduct a security assessment. Another is to take a look at passwords and password policies. Conducting security awareness training, advanced endpoint detection, just several things that will help an organization start to think about how are we positioned in terms of mitigating risk of a cyber attack. And again, we'll put a link down below for this. But when it comes to a full-blown cybersecurity risk assessment, we found, and there's lots of ways to do it, but we found probably the industry standard and one of the most thorough approaches is using a framework that was built by an organization called the National Institute of Standards and Technology. And they put together a framework, a cybersecurity framework that is very thorough, encompasses multiple elements. And there's 3 things that this framework covers that are really, really vital. Oftentimes we think about cybersecurity and we think about the technology involved that's used to protect an organization. But the NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology, the NIST framework acknowledges that there's actually 3 key components to cybersecurity: people, process/policies, and technology. And this assessment works through looking at those 3 factors across 5 separate functions. And we'll actually have you'll see down this description, we'll have an image of the NIST framework that will help to give you a sense of what this is. But there's 5 functions that the NIST framework looks at. Identify. So we'll be asking organizations to identify, where are your assets? What are your assets? What data is most critical? What's your IT governance? What's your risk assessment? And what's your risk mitigation strategy? Protect. How do you protect your devices? How do you protect your environment? Both physical security and data security. Detect. How does your organization detect if it's been breached? How will you know? Keeping in mind that on average, once a breach happens within an organization, those malicious actors will be in that network, be in that system for, on average, 197 days before there's any activity or action taken. So those folks are in there, in the system for 197 days, looking around, extracting data, doing all sorts of things before the host company even knows it. So how do we detect if someone has breached? If someone has breached, what's the response? What's the response to the organization? Both, again, technology-wise, but communication-wise. Is there an incident response plan? Who communicates with who? Who's authorized to communicate? How do we mitigate the risk once we understand that it has occurred? And recover. How do we go about recovering our data? How do we go about recovering whatever may have been damaged by the attack? So again, the NIST framework offers a fantastic approach, a very thorough approach to conducting cybersecurity risk assessments. The 5 functions are identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. It's absolutely vital that an organization takes the time to have a third party come in and conduct a cybersecurity risk assessment. Look, we do it for our cars. We take our cars in for checkups, and we want to know, what risk do I have? Is the car functioning okay? Is there anything I need to do to keep it running well? We do it with our own physical health. Some of us do it more frequently than others, but we do it where we go to see a professional and have a professional assess us and let us know what risk factors do we currently live with regarding our health, and we take recommendations and hopefully follow them. So it's vital as we think about cybersecurity. I mean, keep in mind these statistics again. 81% of all breaches, all attacks happen with small to medium-sized businesses. 1 in 5 businesses are going to be breached and attacked. And 97% of these can be avoided. They can be avoided with the right processes and the right technology and the right training to the end users. So they're quite honestly, there's no good excuse to not conduct an assessment. It's not going to be very expensive. This is not an expensive proposition. And many companies will, if you let them come in and do the assessment, and then they'll put a roadmap together, and because you may not be able to do all the recommendations at one time. It may not be feasible. But the organization will come in and they'll help to put a roadmap together of what are the steps that we need to take in order to significantly strengthen the security posture of your organization. And sometimes if you allow them to come in and conduct the assessment, there'll be some sort of consideration of that in terms of the ongoing fees or the resulting fees for whatever services and tools are provided. So it's not an expensive proposition. It takes a little time. When we do our NIST-based assessment, we generally need a half hour to 45 minutes to conduct the interview and collect the data. It's not a huge investment of time on the organization's part. Again, there's simply no real good reason to not do this. The framework is there, the tools are there. There are organizations that are going to be very willing and happy to help out, organizations who are experts in this space. I hope this has been helpful. Down below, you'll see our contact information, and if you've got some follow-up questions or some comments, we'd love to hear from you. Again, take a look at all the links down below. You'll find some really helpful things down there. But do consider putting at the top of your to-do list in 2020 to get a cybersecurity risk assessment completed. At least you'll know. Just get the assessment done and then make a decision in terms of what you want to do in response to that assessment. But have some clarity, understand what your risk is. How big of a risk are cyber attacks to your organization? It'll be well worth your time and money. Thank you for taking time to watch this video. If you've got any questions or comments, please leave them below. We'd love to hear from you.